if there's a person who is satisfying all the culture values, but maybe not so good with the competencies, we'll coach them to become the master.
I am here with one of Xcelerate's top sentinels. His name's Pulkit. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hey, hi everyone. Like Steve said, I won't call myself the top sentinel, but sure, I am one of the good ones. Let me put it like that.
One of the good ones.
Yeah.
Never let the good ones go. So, Pulkit, give us a little bit about your background. How did we find you?
I found you guys, actually.
Oh, you found us.
To be quite honest. Yeah.
You saw the bat signal.
Yeah.
So how did you find us?
I found you guys through LinkedIn, to be particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing some LinkedIn searching.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, just a little bit background about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I have been a trainer back in India. I've lived all my life in India, at least first 30 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife got a job here. I had to move here. I wanted to continue teaching because that's really something that I'm passionate about. And my focus and background has been data science. About a year back, I was searching for data science trainer, specific job profile on LinkedIn, and Xccelerate came up.
You studied data science in uni, yeah?
That is correct. Yes. So I graduated with my master's back in 2017. So I started it in 2015, graduated in 2017. Till then, data science has always been a thing for past 20, 30 years at least. But at that time, it wasn't like a thing, right? People knew what data scientist, the job profile data scientist existed, but there were no degrees in data science or courses for data science, right? But my degree was basically in information technology with a specialization in data science. So there were a couple of data science subjects being covered in my master's, right? So there were things like computer vision, there were things like data analytics, right? So yeah, that got me interested. I started some self-learning, university-enabled, whatever I was doing. And eventually, I got my first job as a data scientist. That was literally my first job. So yeah, that's where it all began. Then I got more and more interested. Then I continued down the same path, kept doubling down in terms of learning new skills, picking up the trends. And yeah, eventually then I wanted to teach.
Okay.
So here we are.
How much of what you use on the job would you attribute to a university degree versus being curious and doubling down and getting work experience and staying on top of trends? A lot of people say that they don't wind up using their university degree. I have friends that were engineers and they said, I don't use anything that I learned in school in work. So what about the university education, if anything, was invaluable, or was it the self-learning or the on-the-job learning that was more useful?
Right. That's a great question, by the way. But yeah.
I'm a doctor.
Yeah. Diagnostician.
Yes.
So yeah, I wouldn't call it completely invaluable. It was valuable because I think it made my life easy. As in, we are living in a world where if you can learn certain skills, you should be able to work a job in those skills, or at the very least freelance and get some work for yourself, right? But university definitely makes it easy because, if you go across LinkedIn, check most job descriptions, it would start with bachelor's in computer science, master's in computer science. So definitely it's easier, right? But I do know a lot of people who do not really come from that kind of background. Maybe they have a background in business or something else, but they are really excelling at being data scientists. So it's just about that first opportunity that you can get for yourself, right? And in no other time in the human history than today, we are living in a world where this is more acceptable, where not having a formal degree is okay as long as you can back up that you have these skills without the degree, right?
Tell the ATS systems that.
What's an ATS system? I'm not sure.
You know how everyone always complains about stuffing or tailoring their CV to get past the machines first, right? Because in the modern world,
Right.
you apply for a job, you quick apply. If you go the normal route,
Yeah.
which, I was always taught to, they say it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? Which
Yeah,
is a reason
yeah.
for that. But the ATS machine is the machine that basically looks at your CV
Right.
before it gets to a real person and says,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
And so a lot of people, unfortunately, if they don't have that experience on their CV or they got a business degree, but they're still talented, it might just throw them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do you know what do you think that this is, you mentioned that university was helpful, but there are people that don't have the degree. What were some things that they did without having a degree that helped them either get past the ATS or help them get the attention of somebody in these, who's hiring for these roles?
Amazing question, Steve. One after the other.
That's why I'm on the hot seat here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let me answer based on my modest experience, right? So I think one of the things people often miss out is doing something valuable where you already are. Let's take a small example. Let's say you come from a business degree. You're working in a sales job. You're working in a marketing job. Everybody thinks I need to do it outside where I work. That's where we get it wrong.
Right.
The fact that you're in a company, let's say you've stayed 1 year, you're already doing a great thing which is fitting into their culture, which is a, believe it or not, difficult problem for companies to solve. For example, at Amazon, there's a very famous statistic that if you have crossed 11 months at Amazon, now you can stay for more than 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, because it's difficult to last at Amazon. They have a tricky culture.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what they're... You lost my mic?
No, I said if you haven't lost your mind. I heard that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So if you've passed those 11 months, that means you're fit into the culture. Now they'll be willing to let you experiment in the direction where you want to, right? So I worked at Amazon for 2 years and I saw so many people transitioning to different job profiles while staying there without the qualification that they are asking for from an external candidate.
Okay.
So that is one thing that people don't leverage enough.
Oh.
They need to stay in that company. They need to learn the skills, do certificates, do courses, approach the manager. The manager is just a Discord message away, just a Slack message away, just an email away. You reach out to them and you tell them, I work in this team. I've recently learned SQL. I think I can contribute to your team. I saw in the internal job posting that you have a job posting for a business analyst. Could you interview me? Could you see if I would fit into your team?
Yeah.
And that's your opening door. And once you have that in your resume and you have said, and now you can go and mark in your resume that, I am a business analyst and I have worked at Amazon for 1 year. Now you got an entry, right? Now the degree is undermined by the work experience you have. See, the work experience always overpowers your degree, right?
If you can get to that point, if you're one of the, some of this I think comes down to hard work. Some of it comes down to luck. Some of it comes down to confidence and having the cojones to do what you just said.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I don't think they see it that way. You know what I mean? And so, in that example that you gave, do you stay in the current role and you do some side work for that department, or do they completely take you over, absorb you?
Yeah, I think it works both ways, right? For example, if you're in a sales team, it doesn't mean there's no work for analytics.
Right.
You need to analyze some data sets. There's sales data. There's so many things. Do that first. Give it to your manager. Let your manager now speak and put a good word for you in other cross teams that this guy really knows analytics. Give him a small project to work on and you make your way. It's just that these small efforts may not pay out initially in terms of money or job change or something, but you're working your way.
Okay.
And it's the right direction, I feel, because it takes time, right?
Yeah.
You have not spent 4 years, so at least you need to have the patience of a couple of months to transition into a different team.
Patience is a virtue. So you mentioned before that this doesn't have to be things that you do outside of your job. You could do it while you're working.
Yeah.
However, would you say there's some degree of patience or opportunity in some of these roles to let you learn on the job? For example, if you're in your role and you're like, hey, I'm interested in trying to solve this problem with Python, for example. Like the other day, I was looking for scripts on scraping metadata, like a plugin or something. And there was a few services that you could pay for, like Ahrefs or SEM Rush or such and such, $99 a month. If you pay for this service, you could scrape metadata as one of the features. And then I saw someone say, hey, why don't you just build your own script, maybe on Reddit, using Python. So I thought, okay. So I went to ChatGPT, for example, and I said, hey, I want to do XYZ with Python. And then it showed me some steps. I still got stuck on a few things that didn't work for me, something to do with my computer. But with some of these roles, like in Amazon, for example, would you be able to carve out an hour or 2 or 3 a day as long as you're trying to solve a problem using new tools, maybe learning on the job, as long as you're not squandering too much company time?
Yeah. Sure. So again, the culture of the company plays a big role here, right? I again and again take the example of Amazon because I've worked there for 2 years.
Bezos will allow it.
He did allow it because he was very clear with a couple of things, right? You need to understand he's still a shrewd businessman, right? He still wants to get things done, but at the same time, not at the cost of people who lasted those 11 months. He wants to keep them happy. They are the culture, right? And for him, it is extremely important to preserve the culture and to get the right fit of people, which means if you have in any job profile lasted more than 11 months at Amazon, and I strongly believe this is true for many other companies, because let me tell you, the whole culture thing is copied by hundreds of companies. The same Amazon culture is copied because it has worked out really well for so many years, right? So a lot of companies do that, which means if you've lasted long enough in a company, by the way, this is a thing in the interviews, because I took interviews at Amazon, they say it very clearly. If there's a person who is satisfying all the culture values, but maybe not so good with the competencies like coding, maybe a little behind, as compared to another candidate who is a master at it, but doesn't fit so well in the culture, we'll go with the first one. We'll coach them to become the master, but because he fits better in our culture, there will be less friction in the meetings. There will be more work getting done.
Let's unpack this word, culture. I think I know what you mean. And at surface level, a lot of people use this word culture. As a matter of fact, when we're doing research, or for example, if we're speaking, because what we do here, we try to connect people with opportunities. So we've done career fairs, we've done career nights, we've done loads of sessions with people representing companies. And I'll tell you what, 9 times out of 10, and it's funny, it's ironic, because we joked about the ATS blocking so many people on LinkedIn or wherever else. But if you're speaking to a real person who you would be working alongside, like the hiring manager or somebody else key to a team, and you sit down and you ask them that very question that we just discussed, and you said, what do you value more? Do you value culture fit or hard skills? I tell you, they always say culture fit. They always say energy, ability to learn on the job, ability to get along with other people. And then what you find here, especially in places like Hong Kong, is on the other side of the spectrum, 9 out of 10 people, if you ask them what they don't like about their job, they complain about poor culture. They complain about politics, backstabbing, you name it. I don't want to say anything. We hear it, to be honest. People stealing projects from each other, people being slow to respond in correspondences, only looking out for themselves. So what you hear from people is, yes, I prefer culture fit. And we'll get to the definition of culture in a sec. But then what you see is people that somehow manage to hack through these ATS systems that maybe had the right keywords, and then they're putting this amalgamation of these teams that just don't work. And you would think that people would finally learn. Maybe it's something to do with Hong Kong. I'm not sure. But let's talk about culture fit. You said soft skills versus hard skills, the ability to butter people up, to get teammates to like you, or to be able to have better collaboration in meetings. What is culture?
It's a good question, but a hard question to answer. But I'll try.
We're not here for the easy questions.
Yeah, but I'll try my best to navigate through it. So I think culture of a company is the core values of a company, and it's not so hard to find it out. It's always there on their webpage. So if you open the career page of any company, they'll be talking about a couple of things. We respect so and so, etc., etc. That's exactly what the culture is. The hard thing around culture is every company has some culture. It's just that there are misses in hiring because they don't test the culture part enough. They are so obsessed on the hard skills. They'll get people onboarded, and then those people will suffer. Then the company will suffer.
Right.
So it's just that some companies haven't. They're so keen to just onboard people, they might miss out on the culture fit part because they're desperate to get those hard skills, miss out on the soft skills part. So it's tricky, but I think culture is basically how overall the company works, or how you get to know the culture of a company by simply attending a couple of meetings, how the meetings are working.
Yeah.
Right. For example, I mean, these are all things I've heard. I'm not so sure about it, but Elon Musk apparently has a policy where he says, you attend a meeting, just drop if it's not valuable for you. I will not mind it. Just leave that meeting. Don't waste time in that meeting.
Pour your cup of water out on somebody's head as you're leaving.
Yeah.
Send a message.
I hope he's talking about online meetings being exited.
That's got to be embarrassing to have a meeting and then just have people just start popping out. You know, it's probably a sign for them.
Yeah, but it won't be weird if the big boss or the leader of the company himself strongly believes in it, and he's saying, just leave, it's fine, I won't mind. If it's not valuable to you, don't waste your time in this meeting. That's a culture that he's trying to set up.
Right.
Similarly, a small example of Amazon.
He also tells people to sleep over there. So we'll get back to that later. Let's talk about Amazon press releases, huh? Did you do that? Did you read the press releases?
That was a very interesting thing about the culture. Yeah, it was amazing. And I mean, it's not just that. It's small things in the meeting. Like, I have worked at 4 companies now, but the way Amazon organized its meetings was really different, right? Right. Like, and this was culture, right? What they would do is, so every time if you see in meetings, people are going in a lot of meetings, people go left and right. They're talking about so many different things. And at the end, somebody summarizes and you try to come to a conclusion. What they do at Amazon is they have like a 1-pager or 6-pager that has to be given out before the meeting. And because they know that people never read anything before joining a meeting, so the first 15 minutes of the meeting are dedicated to, okay, this is the document that we are going to discuss.
Yes.
Read it in the first 15 minutes.
Love that.
And then we start the discussion.
I love that.
Right. So that's culture.
Yeah.
Right. And it's such a strong culture that it is now being followed by so many other companies. Like literally, so Amazon is very famous for its leadership principles, right? They have a couple of leadership principles which are really good to make some judgment calls. They use those only while giving promotions also. Like, for example, you go from L4 to L5. They know these are the leadership principles. If the person was strong on them, then you move them forward. Of course, with the hard skills. But the promotion depends on these soft skills as well, whether you really became good on these leadership principles or not. Right? And that is what dictates the whole thing. Right? So that's how organized companies are. Now, the other side of the spectrum is the startups. There's no culture defined right now, right? The culture is gonna shape up slowly because it's so small to even have a culture. For example, you add on one new leader, he might come in with a very different culture, and now he may be dictating the culture. So things can be very tricky. So for startup, people need to be really, really flexible in terms of, for example, we say work-life balance is part of culture of couple of companies. Microsoft more than Amazon. At least that's what I've heard, right? From my Silicon Valley friends, that Microsoft is still a bit more relaxed. On the other hand, Amazon, you have to work a bit too much, I guess, right? There's no such thing as work-life balance. But anyway, coming back to the whole startup thing, right? So at startups, you have to be a bit more flexible. So you'll have to see what works well for you. Unfortunately, to your whole ATS argument, culture is the most tricky thing to judge or find out. Through a person's resume, you cannot really find whether they'll fit well into the culture. That can only be done through a couple of interviews. So I think I'm just a bit too much mesmerized with the whole Amazon way of things. I kind of keep coming back to that.
I heard a few things. I heard a lot about Amazon. I heard that one issue I heard is a lot of people that go to spend time at Amazon, they develop an affinity for this culture. And even though it might be great for Amazon, it might be great for a lot of places, it doesn't have the same effects. So they go to other companies that don't embrace that culture and they go, hey, well, this is how we do things at Amazon. And like, well, we don't do things like that here. Okay?
Yeah.
And then it's the same if you come from another company that you had a long-standing tenure at and you go to Amazon, they go, well, this is the way we do things at Amazon. And they say, well, that's kind of not what worked for me before. So it's really hit or miss. But, with the ATS, I think people need to be creative and persistent and find clever ways to tailor their CV or presentation for each job they apply for, but that can be very taxing and time consuming.
Yeah, I still think ATS is still going to be about your hard skills.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So maybe you gotta, be a little bit of a salesperson and kind of, I don't want to say BS it, but figure out a way to integrate it. Or maybe like you said before, it's just about getting your foot in the door in some other way.
Yeah.
And then saying, okay, I got in for this reason, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity to, and it's like, let's be honest, it's the way the world works. You take advantage of opportunities.
Yeah. I think one of the things, again, people are not leveraging enough in today's day and age is self-selling and self-marketing.
Yes.
That is not being leveraged enough. And I think I know so many good people who now get jobs because jobs are coming to them because they have a really good presence on LinkedIn. They talk about whatever they do. They present their work really well on LinkedIn. So people are coming and saying, okay, you have done this project. I want somebody who has done this project.
Yes.
It's a big thing, right? People don't realize that.
Yeah.
Because you keep saying, okay, I've done computer vision. That's fine. Okay. It's your word against until we test you. And now there's going to be friction, whether we should test you or not. This is not looking right. This is not looking right. But forget about there's no degree, but you have done an excellent computer vision project and there's a YouTube video showing you doing hand gestures and the gym machine is going along, animations are there, whatever, right? Now you have just sold yourself. Now person who needs that skill will say, forget about the degree.
Beautiful hands. We saw your hands on YouTube. We think they're beautiful and we're specifically looking for hands are a big part of our culture here. Grooming your hands. So you never know.
Right.
We're big on hands. Amazon, big hand people.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. That's good. That's really great advice. And so let's tie it up together for individuals that are looking to learn, to get new careers or jobs in certain things they don't have skills in necessarily, data science, machine learning. What advice would you give to somebody who's maybe in their mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s that wants to make this career pivot, that just thinks, okay, I've never done this before. I can't go back to school, but I do want to, I do think I'd make a good data scientist. What advice would you give them? Would you say, shoot your shot, meet people, apply for a data scientist role, or maybe like, hey, learn XYZ skill, try to get this role in, data analyst or something else. Then once you're in, pivot or work your way up. What advice would you give to these individuals as it pertains to what we do here at Xccelerate and who our target, audience is?
Right. I think the truth about getting the hard skills is always going to be there, no matter what time we are in. You cannot fake them. You need to learn them, right? It all comes down to being presentable with it, which means as far as you're applying for tech jobs, it's very important to have a good presence on LinkedIn. It's very important to have your own GitHub repository. It's a small thing, but people miss out on it, especially people from the data science and data analytics field. Because this is a field with half coding and half business acumen, right? As compared to hardcore software development. Most software developers have their own GitHub profiles. Data scientists don't do that, which means this is an opportunity. Now there are 100 people who are applying for the job. If you are the one who has a GitHub profile where all your projects are being showcased, you just won the entry, right? You broke the entry and now at least you will get interviewed, which is the first step, right? So do those small things. If you are doing some work, at least let that work speak for you, right? Otherwise, there's no point. If you're just expecting somebody to scan your resume and reach back to you, that's not going to happen. You have to work out for yourself. So GitHub profile, having a good LinkedIn presence, talking about whatever projects you do, just a simple post on LinkedIn is good enough. If a video can be created, why not do that? And
interview people. Get interviewed.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. This is a beautiful discussion. We have a lot of chemistry. We should do this more often.